Do you know how old sayings become old? Because they're true. We have a real good one to talk about today, and that is youth is wasted on the young. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And today I want to give you some things that caused me to reflect on the youth, especially when I was in my 20s and 30s. I read an article by a gentleman named Anthony J. Young that's very, very good. I'm going to use it to help me make these points. Big shout out to Mr. Young. 10 hard truths you need to know to make the most of your youth. You know, it's a weird balance to be young. On one hand, it's important to enjoy it, have fun, take risks, and go on adventures. But on the other hand, you can't waste your glory years bumbling around and not making any progress. Because even though you have a lot of time left, the years of your youth are still critical for what you do with the rest of your life. Here's a really good quote from Dr. Meg Jay. Quote, "Our 20s are the defining decade of adulthood. 80% of life's most defining moments take place by the age of about 35. Once again, the 80-20 rule. Two-thirds of lifetime wage growth happens during the first 10 years of a career. More than half of Americans are married or are dating or living with their future partner by the age of 30. Personality can change more during your 20s than in any other decade of your life. When it comes to adult development, 30 is not the new 20. Even if you do nothing, not making choices is a choice all the same. Don't be defined by what you didn't know or didn't do." Once again, that's Dr. Meg Jay. Now, I want to share some lessons with you, and so to help you get what you want to get. That's what a mentor does. And if I'd have known some of these things a little earlier in my life, maybe I would have advanced a lot more quickly than I did, and avoided some heartaches. But even if you're not quote-unquote young anymore, these lessons are still going to help you out, so pay attention. First one, regret is always worse than failure. Don't fail by default. It's not the things you do in life, but it's the things you don't do that you regret the most at the end. If you talk to people that are at the end of their lives and you say, "What's the biggest regret you have?" It's not the things that they did. They'll tell you it's the things that they didn't do. "I should have done this. I had that opportunity. I was afraid to make a move here. I stood pat. I didn't take any more cards in my hand." When you think over it, it makes you shake your head. Not going after specific opportunities, not asking out women that you found attractive, or not saying what you really wanted to say. On the other hand, though, I'm proud of all the risks that I did take. Even the ones that were epic failures. I'm still proud that I tried, and admire how adventurous and courageous I was way back then. As an example, after I graduated college, I've lived my entire life, in the Boston area, in the East Coast. I always wanted to live in California. Almost immediately after I graduated from school, I packed up and moved out to California all by myself. It was something I wanted to do. My reasoning was, hey, if I get started in life and I start a career, I'm not going to be able to move then. I'm going to be in that position. So why don't I go to where I want to be and start out there so I don't have that problem later on. That was my thinking. And all of my friends and my parents and everybody else said, you're taking a big risk by doing that. But you know what? I'm really glad I did. It really was a great sense of adventure, and it added tremendously to my personal growth. Failure is always better than regret because Even if you fail, at least you took action and figured out the result instead of never knowing and potentially missing out on life-changing opportunities. Most people, however, tell their life story like this. You know, I always wanted to do blank, but then I didn't. The end. And even if they do okay in life, there's always going to be a nagging sense of what could have been. Don't do that. If you're going after something you're passionate about, failing isn't that big a deal. It might sting in the moment, but you're going to get over it. Second point, real success comes from adversity and failure. Many people who reach incredible heights in their lives started off by taking risks, breaking things, and failing. Very, very few people hit it big on their first try. You know, one of the things I did was I went to a seminar and spoke with somebody, and they had a business that they were trying to sell called design wall printing, where you would go into somebody's house and instead of wallpaper, you would print on their walls. And I got sold, even though I have about as much artistic skill as a gnat, and went after it. It cost me $3,000, but perhaps was the best $3,000, and that $3,000 was a lot back then, especially for me. Perhaps it was the best $3,000 I ever spent, because I learned so much by my failure. You know, in fact, succeeding on your first try could actually be a disadvantage, because when times get tough, you don't have the mental strength, experience, or confidence to overcome it. Early success can be a terrible teacher. You're essentially being rewarded for lack of preparation. So when you find yourself in a situation where you must prepare, you can't do it because you don't know how. If you learn how to deal with adversity, you build your perseverance muscles to handle life's challenges and learn new things. Worst case scenario, you over-prepare, and that's never a bad thing. That's what happened to me in that business with design wall printing. I was not prepared. I didn't know what to do. I was excited about the opportunity, but then I learned the lesson. Hey, dummy, be prepared. Be ready to rock and roll instead of just being emotional about something, and make sure that you make a commitment. But with that said, don't fall into the trap of consuming more and more information only to never use it. You know, it's easy to keep reading to try and find the answer without having to do anything. But frankly, you know what that is? It's mental masturbation. And that's one of the big problems that people have, is they just, okay, I'm reading about it, they feel like they're making progress. You know, it's time to see if your thinking is worthwhile by becoming a doer. In reality, the person who knows nothing about business but takes out, a loan and starts something is far better off than the person who reads hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurial books but never tries to create anything. Don't try to avoid failure. Failure is not the enemy. Standing still and rationalizing your inaction, that's the enemy. Doing something unfulfilling for your entire life just because other people told you to is the enemy. Embrace adversity. It'll make you stronger. Third point, take full ownership of your life. Nothing's holding you back. The only thing that holds you back is your negative self-talk. When you're young, it's easy to think to yourself that you're out of luck because you don't have connections, you don't have the right opportunities, and on and on and on. But you know what? That's all a bunch of BS, a bologna sandwich. No one's stopping you from reading the books that'll show you the way. No one's stopping you from reaching out to people who know the answer, that is, finding a mentor. No one is stopping you from getting started today. Not your family, not your traumas, not your race, not your education, nothing. You often see people talk about the obstacles that they're facing. You have no idea what I've gone through, or you have no idea what I'm going through right now. But all that, you know what that does? It just empowers those obstacles and makes you feel like a victim when you say that. And trust me, there's people that had it much, much worse in life and found a way to overcome and get exactly what they wanted. The fact is, you already have everything you need to be successful. Take the advantages you already have. Take advantage of them. Pat Summitt, famous basketball coach from the University of Tennessee, says, responsibility equals accountability equals ownership. And a sense of ownership is the most powerful weapon a team or organization can have. You know, whatever you demand from life, you got to demand from yourself. If you want a great job, become a great employee. If you want loving friends, become a loving person. If you want a healthy and fit partner, become healthy and fit. The best way to get what you want in life is to create it from within first. Too many people have it backward. They want amazing things, but they don't want to put in the effort to do it themselves. You got to be the person you want to be, and then you'll have the things you want to have. So how do you do that? By getting good first. Michelangelo said, quote, "If people knew how hard I worked to get my mastery, it wouldn't seem so wonderful to them at all." You know, everybody wants to be successful, but here's a massive problem that you notice, especially online. People who are just starting out see other people doing cool things, and they want the same success from the very beginning. So rather than working doggedly for years to build something, create something, learn something, and actually get good at something, they try and skip that step because they feel like, I'm entitled. You're not entitled. The best way to become successful is to actually get good at something first. Don't worry about becoming a millionaire yet. Get good at a craft, an industry, a skill. Find something that adds value to people and become great at it. Then you'll start earning the money. And all the accolades will come, but they'll only come after you become a master at your craft. When you become. And once you do, everything's going to be different. You'll be who you want to be, and you'll have what you want to have because you've earned it. That happened to me. My dad came out to California. I was living the life of Riley. I'm playing basketball. I mean, I'm graduated from college. I'm in my 20s. You know, I'm working for somebody and getting by, doing a kind of a nothing job, selling belt buckles to large groups, okay? And I'm playing basketball. I'm living at the beach. You know, what I'm really doing is I'm extending my college years, the best time of your life, extending those years and just enjoying. And my dad came out to visit from Massachusetts, and he called me a bum. That changed my life. It changed. He said, "What are you doing? Who do you want to be? What do you want to become? Get yourself something that is going to be worthwhile." And I did. And I started to work with a sales organization to become a sales manager. And I became very proficient in my craft of sales. I focused on that entirely. The change came from within. The change didn't come from without. People are saying, well, if only the circumstances change. The circumstances change for you out there when they first change for you in here. Which brings me to the next point. If you can't be happy alone, you can't be happy with others. One of the best things you do at that time in my life was I learned to be happy being alone. Why? Because I didn't have time. I was so focused. It was like a 45-minute drive, 50-minute drive to get from where I lived to where I was going in San Jose. I was living in Santa Cruz. And I would get up early to go to meetings. I would come home late. I didn't get to see any of my friends. I was working 6 days a week. On Sunday, I would go and I would see people when I wasn't like exhausted and sleeping and so on, and getting myself together and reading and so on. But I took that time when I was driving. I was listening to tapes. When I was there in San Jose and not going back and forth home, I was reading books. I was focused on doing all of those different things. And you know what? I found that it wasn't so bad. I learned that I could get satisfaction with my focus and by being myself. The truth is, the fear of being alone is a chain. It means people need others for their happiness, which forces them to cling and do things they normally wouldn't do. For example, you might find yourself spending time with people you don't really like, just so you can go out on the weekends and not be alone. But there's an incredible freedom when you can do anything you want without finding a partner. Sure, you love your friends, but everybody's busy and no one's interested in what you're doing. I can just go out now alone, have a great time, and even make friends there, which is something I did. Now, rather than looking to others as a source of your happiness or as a way to avoid the discomfort and the anxiety of being alone, you can now bring your own happiness by yourself. Also, you're freer to choose the people you enjoy rather than clinging on to the ones who selected you, and you can even let go of friends or partners with less fear and anxiety, all of which can lead to more fulfilling friendships and relationships throughout the rest of your life. Okay, so I've given you 5 things to think about in terms of let's not waste youth on the young. We're going to go with 5 more next time we get together. Once again, huge shout out to Anthony J. Young for his tremendously good article. And because we're never going to end a meeting on a philosophical note, why don't we all get out there and take charge? I'm Eli's dad.